Greetings, y'all. So, I have another download. I'm back. Um, for some of you guys have heard me talk about Cinderella on this channel. Like, I did a video probably, when was that? Sunday, Monday? I don't remember when I did that video. But Cinderella, like I said, has been coming up a lot lately, but not really because I've always had some type of, I feel like all young little girls that resonate with Disney princesses, Cinderella probably is one of their favorite Disney stories. But I think I've spoken about Cinderella in a few maybe readings or downloads and stuff like that, and most recently. But yeah, so I had gotten a whole download. Like, I was listening to a prophetic video. Long story short, the woman was talking about how she had this urgence, or she felt this desire to buy clothes, and she was like, I don't know why. And then she said, the download spiritually was representing a new garment. So a new garment spiritually represents, obviously, a new you. When people get makeovers or whatever, they get new clothes. It's like a brand new feeling, right? But it also represents a new title, a new mantle, right? So what is a mantle? So if you look up by definition what a mantle is, both literal and spiritual. Literal, it's a cloak or a shawl, mainly worn by women, which, interestingly enough, I feel like this message is for women specifically. So a cloak is something that covers one person. A mantle spiritually represents some type of important role or a responsibility that is passed from one person to another, similar to, I think it was Joshua that received Moses' mantle, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong if you guys want to talk about biblical, but just in a spiritual sense, it's a new level of responsibility. Okay, so some of you guys, maybe you've been feeling led to specifically buy new clothes or maybe a dress. Yesterday I was wondering, and I feel like God, divine spirit, answered my question with this video that I watched this morning, where I got the download about the new garment. Because yesterday I was like, I don't know why I feel led to buy a dress, and I was seeing the Cinderella color blue, and I was like, I don't know where this is coming from, and I don't know if it's literal. Like, I don't need to be spending no money on no dresses, like, for what? And I feel like I got my answer. For some of you, it could be literal, like, and I'll get to that in a second. But for some of you guys, maybe even you may be seeing a lot of crowns as well. Like, maybe you've been, like, when I mean crowns, like queen and king, like you've been drawn to crowns for some reason. And I feel like that also relates to the story of Esther. But crowns in this instance, for me, I feel like represents some type of spiritual authority, or that that queen or king mantle, which being, like I said, in that spiritual authority and responsibility. So I found that Cinderella and Esther kind of have like similar stories in a sense, if you think about it. Both were orphans. Like Esther, hers was more literal, like an orphan. Like, she lost both of her parents. She was raised by her uncle, though she was loved by her uncle. Cinderella, however, she was both physically an orphan and spiritually an orphan. And what the orphan spirit really is, like, I've talked about that as well, a few times on my channel, for those of you that don't know what that is, and some of you do know what that means. But the orphan spirit, just in short, is like, you kind of feel like this loner. You kind of, you feel like you don't really have a place or fit with your family. You never really felt connected maybe to your mother or your father. It's kind of this feeling of maybe you always felt like you were looked down upon, or you were treated differently, or you always felt like you were insignificant, or maybe people did things that maybe you heard things like, demeaning things, you were looked down upon, and how it manifests into your adulthood is very, there's different ways that it can manifest. For some people, it's this overly independent type of personality. You could also operate in a sense of being jealous of other people, competitive in nature, to prove your value or your worthiness. Constant praise, seeking praise and validation, and constant boasting. It's different levels to the orphan spirit. But so for those of you may resonate with that aspect as well, as a woman. So I wanted to kind of get into the message as a whole, because these are just like little points that came to me, what spirit is saying. So there will be a lot of us that's stepping into an important position and responsibility. Matter of fact, like, if this is your message, and I'll just say that for some of you it's a confirmation, or it could be a revelation that leads to further clarity, but please use your discernment, because spirit is saying that you are stepping into a new position, an important position at that, and responsibility. Okay, a new you. There is a divine protection that's over you. So back to the cloak, if you think of the mantle, it is a cloak. So to cloak is to be hidden, right? So if you think about Esther and Cinderella, they had to hide their identities. Esther's original name, her birth name, is Hadassah, and she had to cloak her name because she was kind of taken in. The women in her land, they were taken against their will to the palace, the Persian king's palace, where they, basically had to go through these different treatments and beauty treatments and stuff like that to be groomed to be the next queen for the king, right? And Esther, she just happened to be the one that was favored over all the other women. But she had to hide her identity because she's really a Jewish woman, and at that time the Persians and the Jews, they weren't, they was beefing at the time, right? So she had to change her name. Her uncle suggested to change her name to Esther, so that's what she went by. Cinderella, same thing. When she went to the ball, she had this mystique about her. No one knew who she really was. She wasn't the servant girl at home. She was the belle of the ball, basically, right? So whatever this is, it's like spirit is protecting parts of you. You are divinely protected. So, and same thing with Esther and Cinderella. What they also have in common is divine help. So you will have divine helpers, just like, Cinderella, how she had the mice, she had the horses, she had the dog, like she had all this help. And then she had the help of her fairy godmother. Esther, she had her uncle. She also had people within the palace that favored her as well. So you will have favor, and you also win the favor of significant people or a person. So I was thinking about the scene where Cinderella had made a dress. She put together her own, right? So sometimes we'll try to create our own. There's nothing wrong with us creating our own lanes and opportunities for ourselves, but it's kind of like when we try to do it maybe in a way that sometimes, like, that might be the thing that jump starts what we need. So Cinderella creating that dress was like she was preparing herself to go to this ball. She was setting herself to go. She was stepping into that opportune moment to go to this event, right? But then she had the interference of her jealous stepsisters that got in the middle and ripped up her work, right? And spirit is saying that though there may have been opportunities or where you felt like you had an opportunity where it was missed, again, that saying delayed does not mean that thing is denied, or that something will not present itself. You can't miss what's divinely meant for you. And spirit is saying no demon in hell, no hater can stop what is appointed for you. Like, it's a promise for you. It's impossible. And you're going to arrive at the divine right time. to whatever this is that you're coming into, whether it's a literal space or environment or position, or just a new energy, a new phase. And Spirit is saying that this divine right time is perfectly orchestrated. Remember the clock in Cinderella where she had to be home before midnight, right? So keep in mind that whatever this is, it is time sensitive. It's a time sensitive opportune moment or moments. I speak a lot about the Kairos time. I mention it, quite a bit, which is Kairos is known as the god of time, if I'm not mistaken, in Greek mythology. But it means a significant time or a significant moment. If you Google what Kairos time means spiritually or maybe biblically, even if you're led to, it does talk about the appointed time in the purpose of God. So whatever this is a divine purpose behind it. Okay, the time when God acts as well. This is like we act, and so does the divine act. Everything is already set up in place, right? It was 11:11 when I said that. It calls for action, conversion, and transformation, a change of life. Kairos is an opportunity and a favor. Yes. So it calls for action. It calls for some type of change, conversion. It creates a shift. It creates a momentum. It creates an atmosphere that when you step into that place, because you're divinely called, you step into that room, that position, whatever that is, you're stepping into this energy, and it shifts around you. It works around you. Like I've heard this explained before, but it explains so much more, like, deeper than this. But that's what I'm hearing. It's like time aligns with you. So it also represents God assists in discerning the timing. So you will know, like, in your spirit, you will be able to know when you're in a Kairos moment. Like, you'll know. It's like a sense of urgency, but not like where you're panicking and you're in fear. It's just this, in your spirit, you gotta go. You just know. Like, it's an instinctive act. So yeah, speaking of time as well, when I was looking at the clock, the Cinderella clock, or the scene where she was leaving the palace or whatever, what came up in the Google, like, one of the things, and it stood out to me, it was a song by Garth Brooks, and I've never heard of this song, but the timestamp, and it's called, what is the song called? It's called It's Midnight Cinderella. It's Midnight Cinderella, and the timestamp is 222. And I've been speaking about this year being the year of divine unions, 2022, 222. So I thought that was, like, so crazy. So some of you guys, this Cinderella reference can also pertain to your love life as well, of course, right? And also, like Esther, she won the favor of the king. Cinderella won the favor of the prince. So for some of you guys, yeah, this could be like a love situation where it may not seem like it in hindsight. Maybe you're led to go somewhere, you don't know why. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to this event, I don't know why, or I just feel led to buy a dress this color, whatever the case may be, and it leads you to that place that you bump into the person. So hey, I don't know. So for some of you, that could be literally like a Cinderella story in that sense. But spiritually, take it as it resonates with you. Okay. So much love as always. I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, much love. Be blessed, be safe, take care. Peace.